custom, our meeting will begin with a check-in. And I'm Ron Chilcote. I founder and the managing editor of Latin American Perspectives. And this is our check-in moment, beginning of our meeting of May 19th, 2013. This we do every meeting. We meet about 6 times a year in different people's homes. We have a coordinating editors group of about 20 editors, and we move around to different parts of Los Angeles, Riverside, Orange County, and San Diego County. Our main task is to make decisions about manuscripts, but we also usually have a political education which we focus on an idea or a controversy or a debate on Latin America. It brings us together to work as a collective. I'm also a professor at the University of California, Riverside, in economics and political science, and my fields of study and research involve Portugal and Brazil. I've dealt with most of the Portuguese-speaking parts of the world, but those are the areas I'm mostly concerned with. I have recently published a book on Portugal, based on work that goes way back into the 1980s, and that book is about to be published in Portugal, and is one reason I've just returned from Portugal to ensure that the publisher does get it out, because I've seen it in proofs 2 years ago. And secondly, I'm finishing the 3rd revision of a book on intellectuals in Brazil, and this book will be published by the University Press, I hope, in the next year.
My name is Jonathan Ritter. I'm also a member of the contributing editorial board here. I've been with Latin American Perspectives for about a year. It's been a great, enjoyable educational experience. I am a professor of ethnomusicology, also at UC Riverside, and my work focuses primarily on the Andean region, both on Black music and social movements in Ecuador, and on highland indigenous music and mestizo music in Peru. I've actually just completed a book manuscript. It will be coming out from Oxford University Press on music and political violence in Peru.
Hi, I'm Shank. I teach at Riverside Community College. I teach political science and economics. Been a long-time member of the coordinating editors, and I specialize in rural development and political economy.
My name is Jorge Ledee. I'm an adjunct professor of environmental science and geography at LA Valley College, and was formerly at UCLA, where my friend Derek Hindry introduced me to the editorial collective of LAP. So I've been mostly on, but a little bit oftentimes, attending editorial meetings, reviewing manuscripts, and participating in our process. I'm happy to now, this is 2013, yes, it's almost been 10 years off and on that I've been at LAP.
Hi, my name is Ariane Dalladea. I am now an adjunct at Mission College on anthropology. Yeah, one class there. And well, I am an anthropologist. I graduated from UCI 2008, and I've been with LAP since what, 2006, 2007. It's been a long time. And yep, I'm on the contributing editorial board.
I'm Jeannie Hostetler-Diaz, and I've been with the journal since the early 90s, but I was actually kind of with the journal before that in terms of the founders. I studied with Ron as an undergraduate student, took pretty much all of his political science courses, and because they were the best ones, and then ended up at Cal State LA and worked on the film project with the Brays. We did our film about the Mexican Revolution, and we also, it was a media, not just film, so it was excellent. And Tim Harding was also a part of that. Joined up with the journal, in the meantime living, and I was a teacher, now retired, in the public school system, and I taught grades K through 12, the last 16 years I taught English as a second language, actually the last 18 years. So it's always been very fascinating and wonderful because, you know, I've always wanted to travel, but I would tell my students, hey, I'm not out there in the world, but the world's right here coming to me. So it was a beautiful thing. And so, you know, started reading manuscripts and just stayed with LAP throughout all of that and have enjoyed it very much and stay with it because it does keep me thinking and, you know, knowing what's going on in a much more profound way than I would otherwise. So.
I'm Don Bray. I taught 50 years at Cal State Los Angeles in politics and Latin American studies. Friday night, where the students have organized an event for the 50th anniversary. Huh? 40th?
50th, you're right, 50th.
50th anniversary of Latin American Studies at Cal State, Los Angeles. I'm accused of telling stories. I'll do one right now. A few years ago, we were looking for a new director of the program, and we were interviewing someone for that position. And he said, when asked, why do you want this job? He said, I want to turn this into the best program in Latin American studies in the country. So I asked him, what makes you think it isn't? We had 60 graduate students working on degrees then. We did hire Enrique Ochoa, and then he gave it over to Marjorie, who built on everybody else's work there over the years. So here I am, a kind of useless old member of the Latin American perspectives. But I enjoy these meetings nonetheless, catching up with people and catching up with the ideas that are being discussed for all of the articles that we review.
My name's Richard Harris. I'm a retired global studies professor at California State University, Monterey Bay. I joined the collective in 1976, so I've been part of this magnificent gang for quite some time. I'm presently living in Hong Kong. My current interests are in Trans-Pacific relations. I have a project that I'm working on that goes back to the beginning of time and comes up to the present and goes into the future. I'm currently very interested in the involvement of China in Latin America. I'm living in China. A lot of people don't think Hong Kong is part of China, even some of the Hong Kongers. I'm a little concerned at this point in time that, and this happens many times, that we need to sort of refocus in terms of what we're trying to do in publishing articles about topics such as China and Latin America. And I want to talk to the collective about that today. And I'm just really glad to be able to be part of such a wonderful group.
My name is Marjorie Brain. I'm the wife of Donald Bray. I was one of the founding editors of this journal along with Don. I had returned to school after raising our 4 children to age of late elementary school, and the journal included graduate students, so it was very supportive for me in my student period that this journal was so open to people who weren't yet professionals in Latin American studies. After I'd finished my classes, I became the director of the Latin American Studies program at Cal State LA in 1980, and I held that position until 2010. No, 2008. We kept teaching at Cal State until 2010. My particular interests have been in Mexico and Chile, Cuba, Central America. Also, we were making films for a while in the 70s about Latin America. We made a film called Chile with Poems and Guns, and a film called Communique from Argentina, which were political documentaries on the movements in those countries, and the first one on the overthrow by Allende and what was lost. We also spent a number of years leading students at the United Nations in New York City, Don and I, as their advisor to the Model United Nations conferences. And Latin American Perspectives has been an enormous part of my life. It has enabled me to say things about and have a perspective for my students about Latin America, about imperialism, about injustice, about the third world that I never would have been able to do. I never had the courage to do just on my own. So it's been a huge part of my intellectual formation and activism.
My name is Claire Weber, and I am a professor at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. I've been with LAP since 2011, and I tend to do the reviews for the manuscripts relating to women, gender, and social movements. I'm engaged in a couple research projects currently, doing community-based and activist research with a group of Mexican immigrant women in Southern California who are working on issues of immigrant rights, community violence, and environmental justice. And specifically, my research currently is exploring the ways that undocumented immigrants do activism and negotiate the doing political activism as undocumented.
I'm Rosalyn Bresnahan, and I'm retired from California State University, San Bernardino. My discipline is media studies, and my main country interest is Chile ever since I was lucky enough to live there for most of the Allende period. I've been with the collective for about 10 years and recently became associate managing editor, which means I help out with a lot of the administrative things like getting ready for LASA, working on our 40th anniversary issue that's upcoming, getting all the material collected for that. I've also, over the course of my time in the collective, edited an issue on Chile, co-edited an issue on Bolivia, been internal editor on a number of issues. So that's it.
I'm Fran Chilcote. I also was one of the founding editors. I think the first meeting was at our house. I also was a manuscript editor for the journal for 10 years. And now I review the manuscripts once they're accepted and write letters to the authors about what needs to be done on their manuscripts. I'm a treasurer also, I guess. And so it's been a long association with the journal.